Hey guys, again another upgrade for the 2021 Aprilia Tuono Factory V4. I just recently got the Evotech clutch and brake levers. AF1 Racing has speaks very highly of it in their description, so I figured I'd give it a try. I was looking for both the nice kind of adjustment. So this is having the distance adjustment as well as the folding features, right? So you'd hate to get stranded, especially in a track day and or riding somewhere just because you've had a down and your bike could still go, but your levers are shot. So I'm really looking forward to these. I like the black look, and of course having the small red accent, and then you're having the branding from Evotech. The levers themselves, they have like a nice edge to them. It's like more of a roll feeling, so definitely higher quality. It's not having like this kind of rough machining surfaces, and you can see like some measures are kind of put into place where effectively the relief in the metal, right? So whether it's weight savings or crash engineering that's in there. Also, you can see like the lever mechanism, right? It's very premium, right? It's having like this nice, say bearing, right? So it's a nice kind of clicking action. Right? So it's not feeling cheap. Very high quality and having the relevant relief holes. And so this one is actually the brake lever, and this one is the clutch. This one and this one is the clutch side. So I'll go through it now. So I'm going to start with the clutch side, and there should be underneath this bolt here, there should be a 10 millimeter. So you want to do this one, loosen it from underneath the 10 millimeter, and then you also need to, from a tension perspective, relieve the tension of the cable. Right. Take note, of course, of where the spacing and the clutch adjustment is. Having a little snap-on tool with a kind of like a flexible head and then a 10 millimeter socket, and that should do the trick. And I'll again loosen this one up. Effectively all the way in. You can see how much looser that is, right? So that's step one. And then underneath is where you use the 10 millimeter and then unloosen this and then take this one out. And you can see here, so this came out from the top, right, of the clutch lever, and then this locking nut from underneath, right? So it does have grease on it, and a little bit of Loctite wouldn't be a bad idea. Nonetheless, that's coming out from the bike, and you can see now, the hole here, and this one's all the way back, so this should just, in theory, move out. I'm gonna finagle this. I'm gonna need two hands. So yeah, so again, like I said, I just needed two hands. I was able to kind of hold the clutch lever in and then kind of just wiggle it out, and it came out. So just make sure you catch the spacer that's internal to this one, right? And then you can, effectively just twist this one out, right? That's not a problem, right? Because of the offset. And some things to take a note is this here is keyed, right, from the top of the screw, so it doesn't, you can see here, this one is keyed, right, so when you're screwing it in, effectively there, and then once you take the spacer out from the original clutch, it just slides literally right on and off. You want to take the spacer and insert it here. Again, it has some grease, so my bike is brand new, it still has a lot of grease. I'm not going to really add too much more, but you can if you want to. And I'm going to now insert the clutch cable here that's keyed just like I took it out, and then put the bolts in, right? So very straightforward on the clutch side. So before I put it in, right, just to show you the key, right, this is keyed. You put there's a little channel where the clutch cable goes into, and once it's in there, you twist it, and then work this into the mount. So I literally just, made sure this is all the way in, and then just pulled it in, and then it slid right in. There's no complication at all. And then we're just going to align the bolt that's keyed here, put the 10 millimeter back down. A little note is, I also adjust this one to the furthest position, the 6, the furthest position out, just to give some space. And then as I tighten it down, then I'll start adjusting it back to the setting. For the step where you're tightening this down, I did find that it's much easier if you push it down, right? So effectively keep it down and turn it at the same time so it doesn't come out of the key, right? So put one hand on the top and then the other hand doing your tightening down. You effectively back this one out, and you can follow, of course, the recommendations. I think it's between 2 to 3 millimeters. So as far as the play before, and I'll show you how to do that. So I have adjusted this out now, right? And when you're done, you can put the cap back on. And what I mean is like the 2 to 3 millimeters is right here, right? So you want to kind of just open it, and you can see right here, as you can see the little play, you want to have about 2 to 3 millimeter gap there. And then it should, no binding, so check how it's binding, make sure this is tight from underneath, and then you can then set your distance accordingly, right? So I'll play around with this, but just as a middle setting, kind of 2 or 3, and then that's the clutch side. So again, very easy. Over here also is the clutch switch, so you just want to make sure that the lever, right, operating it, that the switch is moving. Next is going to be the brake lever, and to get that out you'll need a 10 millimeter, and that goes for the nut underneath. And then there's going to be a hex socket here, and that will be a 4 millimeter, right? So we just loosen this and it should come right out. And you can just keep unscrewing it to the left and just keep unscrewing it by hand. Then once it's loose, you can feel it, like the tension's effectively gone. You can kind of, a little bit of an angle, and you can kind of wiggle it out. And there's what's holding it in from the top. Then it should come right out. You just be careful with the plunger. And you can see here with a factory, right? It just took a little bit actually from here. So a little bit of a grease. And we'll have to take this, you have to take this cylinder out, right? So you have to tap the center out in order to take this piece out, which is what we need to transfer to the new brake lever. So I have a 1/2 inch socket underneath and just a 1/4 inch extension from the top, and I'm just going to tap it out. So what actually worked out is I ended up using a 17 millimeter underneath, and then the 1/4 inch extension, right? And then I just tapped this sleeve out. It actually came right out, so it was not even an issue. Just 1 or 2 whacks with a rubber mallet, and it came right out. Having this piece from the factory brake lever, and this was then holding the entire plunger assembly in. So now that I have the plunger, I'm going to assemble it into the Evotech brake lever, right? It goes there, and then this now goes into the bike, into the brake master cylinder. And I would again recommend to set the lever at the farthest setting, and then try to then swivel it back in and then reassemble in reverse. Alright, so this is the tricky part now, where you effectively have to get the plunger first in. And you just have to be patient with it and ensure that you get the gasket over the lip. So I'm going to try to actually manipulate the plunger in there without the lever. It might be easier. And yep, it just went right in. So now that it's in there, I'm going to actually just slide the plunger lever into the brake lever. So just kind of twisting it in there and then reassembling it accordingly. Then again, we want to reassemble, right? So ensuring, you of course lubricate if you need to. Mine's still having a lot actually. And then you're just going to wiggle this into place. And then also don't forget the lock nut 10mm from underneath. And if you're having a little trouble with this top bolt, I would recommend just peeking on top of it and kind of realigning it, and then making sure that you have a straight shot down. This should be finger tight. It should not be binding, right? So if it's binding or it's going sideways, you definitely don't want to have any misinstallation in your brake lever. This is one of those critical parts that you just can't afford to mess up. So once it's all the way down, you're going to see kind of finger tight. You should be able to have it almost flush. Make sure to operate the lever, nothing's binding, loose. And then once you're ready, of course, then the 10mm, you can get the nut from underneath with the washer. Extremely critical, and make sure not having this actually being forgotten, because it's out of sight, out of mind, right? So, but again, brake lever and braking components in general, these are things that could be really detrimental if left loose, especially for braking performance. So now I'm just tightening them up, and again, very easy, straightforward. There's no big concern. So just make sure you're tightening it accordingly, that it's not loose. And once everything is installed and tight, just again operate everything. Make sure all the components are tight, that you're not having anything loose or rattling, and that's it. That was so easy. Literally, I would say 10 minutes aside, if you really take the time. There's really not a topic that would, I would say, stop you. Just make sure you have all the tools ahead of time. Have the proper lubrication, right? If you want to lubricate effectively the joints and the connections. But again, my bike's really new, so a lot of the factory grease is still there, so no concerns there. But everything looks great, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more videos, and let me know in the comments if you want to see anything else. And yeah, thanks for watching, and until next time.